Hello, everyone. Very good morning. Very good evening, everyone. Um, Today, I'm here to do a quick announcement on my Oracle Database 19C course content, and then what are the benefits, and then how the course content is structured, and then this course is going to be purely based upon the real-time examples, real-time exercise, and based upon the real-time scenarios. What as a DBA we are going to face it day in and day out in our day-to-day activities. So this database 19C database course is purely the syllabus or the course content is whatever set. It's purely based on whatever the real-time example, real-time issues, and the real-time scenarios, whatever we work on day to day, day in and day out as a DBA in most of the organizations. So all the content combined together, clubbed together, and this particular 19C database course is formed. So I'm just going to brief you through what is this course content, and then how entire the course is formed, and then what are the course materials you're going to get it, and then how that course materials can be utilized in various scenarios. So everything I'm going to cover it here, and then you can if you are new to my channel, always go back to YouTube and search for Mallikarjun Ramadurg, and then please do subscribe, and then you can get the latest update when I'm there, like whenever I upload the new videos and then the new topics and new discussion around the Oracle technologies. Right. Having said that, let's go to my blog malik034blogspot.com, and then go to your trainings, and then check there the various trainings are announced. Like you can go for Oracle database. This is purely I'm explaining about Oracle database course, which is 19C database course. Just go ahead and click on this Oracle database 19C course here. Then you will go into this Oracle database training, and then this particular database course, I'll just first explain about the content. We'll just start with the course content. We basically start from our environment setup. So environment setup is nothing but downloading your Linux images, downloading your Oracle software, downloading your Oracle patches, and then how you can install your Linux images, and then how you can set up your own Linux server, and then how you can install your own databases, and how you can install your own ASM, and how you can practice your database DBA activities, right? So that is all about setting up your environment. That includes your downloading the software, various software, starting with your Linux ISO image, Oracle software, Oracle patches, and your Oracle VMware workstation or Oracle VirtualBox workstation, and then followed by your installation of these workstations, whatever that VMware workstation or Oracle VirtualBox. We're going to install them, and then we'll start with installation of our Linux. So Linux flavor might be your RHL, Ubuntu, OEL, whatever the ISO image you may have it. So we'll start with the installation of that ISO image and partitioning that ISO image. Like whenever like we start with your Linux installation, you have to do a certain partition, root partition, boot partition. There are so many partitions will come in while installation. So we'll do that all the Linux partition understanding. We'll do a YAM repository setup, and then installation of your custom RPM, how you can download the RPMs, where you can download the RPMs, and then from which location, which public YAM repository you're going to download the RPMs, and then how you're going to install the RPMs, how you're going to remove the RPMs, what are the commands you play around that RPM. So we'll cover that one. Along with that, what are the basic tools as a DBA we use it in our day in and day out activities, like WinSCP, MobileXter, Putty, and then so many other tools. We're gonna briefly explain about environment setup, followed by networking concept, because as a DBA we should understand the basics, at least basics of networking, so that which will help us flawlessly work your carry out your day-to-day and day-to-day activities. So understanding of networking is very mandatory, one of the preliminary checks for a DBS. So we'll start with understanding of IP concept, IP interfaces, and then how you can assign the IPs, how you can remove the IPs, what is the static IP, what is the dynamic IP, what is the VIP, what is the public IP. There's so many other concepts around that. We'll start with that, and followed by DNS server, DHCP server, what is DNS server, what is name server, what is DHCP server, dynamic host configuration protocol, DNS domain naming service, and then what is name server, and what is forward name resolution, what is reverse name resolution, what is NS lookup. So all those network concept we're going to cover it, because these are like very two basic understanding. As a DBA we should understand our Linux, and then your environment setup, and then followed by your basic subnetworking. Once you are done with this two basic preliminary understanding, then we'll start with our actual DBA world. So where we'll start with the installation of our 11G database, 12C database, 19C database, and what are the differences between these installation process, how you can install it using a silent mode or using a GUI mode, and then from where you can download all these softwares from Oracle OTN or Oracle eDelivery. So all this we're going to cover it here as the installation of 11G, 12C and 19C software, followed by creation of your databases. The manual way of creation of your databases, 11G, 12C, 19C, how you're going to create manual database, manually how you can create database without the GUI mode, in silent mode how you can create with a command line, and then followed by same creating that 11G, 12C, 19C database using the GUI mode. That's nothing but your DBCA, which you're going to launch your GUI screen, and then how you can carry forward with the installation. So that's your GUI mode. So how you can set up your GUI mode, that's other questions. You can use either mobile Xterm, or you can use either VNC server, or you can use the Xming, or there's so many other utilities. You can use them and then set up your GUI mode, so that you can launch your DBCA, which will launch the GUI mode, and then you can start with installation. So all that differences we'll cover here, and then followed by understanding of our 19C architecture. Purely we work on 19C architecture, and then however we can compare with the 19C architecture with the 11G and 12C, and we'll see what are the differences, what are the changes has happened in respect to architecture part. So we'll understand completely on all these three architecture, 11G, 12C and 19C, and then after that we'll start with 19C 19C architecture, and then we'll take 19C as a baseline, and then we'll see all the admin activities in 19C databases. And then after this understanding of this architecture, we'll purely start with the purely an admin activities, like you are starting and shutting down your databases. It's all like Oracle database management and admin activities, like starting and shutting down your databases, understanding of your control file, redo log files, archive log files, temp files, and then backup files, and then so many other like SP file, parameter files, and so many other things. We'll understand that, understanding of your SP file and parameter files, and understanding of a password file, and then automatic memory management, your SGA, PGA, your all the different of SGA and PGA component. Everything will deep dive, and then we'll understand in practical sessions, and then what are the common scenarios we'll come across in day in and day out activities. So everything will be covered based upon the real time scenarios, and then followed by your actual storage management, your table space, segment, extent, and data blocks, how these all logical components are correlated and then mapped to my data files. And then all will be like understand in details with what is dictionary managed, locally managed table space, automatic storage space management, understanding of your segment, extent, blocks, and then your table space, what are the relationship between all of them, and then what's the correlationship between your table space and then the data files, and then how these data blocks are parameters are mapped, and what are the block sizes, all this, like how these Oracle blocks are mapped to my OS blocks. All this internal concept we're going to see it as a real-time exposure, and then followed by your ASM architecture. So that ASM architecture purely will talk about what is ASM, how ASM architecture works, and how you can connect your ASM, how you can create your disk group, how you can add your disks, ASM disk, and then how you can format them, how you can create your disk groups, and then how you can install your database on top of that ASM disk groups. So we're going to start with our ASM architecture, why we need ASM and what are these advantages, mirroring, striping, coarse grain and fine grain, and then what is the high redundancy, normal redundancy, external redundancy, and then what are the ASM specific parameters, and then what is the ASM rebalancing operations, and what are the ASM admin activities, like adding a disk, dropping a disk, creating a disk groups and dropping a disk groups, and then how you can manage your ASM instances, and then how you can, once you add or remove a disk, how you can monitor your rebalance operation inside ASM. Everything we can see it purely point of admin activities, and then followed by your very important, and presently most of the customers are looking for your multi-tenant architecture, your PDBs and CDBs. We'll deep dive into PDBs and CDBs. So we'll give a brief comparison between your 12C and 19C. What are the changes with respect to your multi-tenant architecture? What are the enhancement? What are the new features between 12C and 19C? Because 12C is the one where your Oracle has introduced your CDBs and PDBs. So then we'll see what are the differences, what are the enhancement, what are the new features with respect to your multi-tenant architecture, with respect to your CDBs and PDBs between 12C and 19C. And then we'll deep dive into complete understanding of multi-tenant architecture, your CDB architecture, your PDB architecture, and then understanding of your CDB concept and PDB concept, and then installation of your CDBs and PDBs and cloning of your CDBs and PDBs, how you can clone it from one CDB to other CDB, how you can convert your non-CDB to the PDB, and then how you can uh, copy, how you can clone your PDBs from one database, one CDB to other CDB via remote DB link. So all these many features we're going to cover it here. And then what are the common users, what are the local users, what are the common roles, what are the local roles, and then what are your like memory architecture, what are your storage architecture, what are your background processes between your CDBs and PDBs. All we're going to see it completely with respect to this multi-tenant architecture in this chapter number 10. And then chapter number 11 is purely about networking. So networking in Oracle, which basically talks about your listeners, your TNS and your SQL files, and why we need your listener.ora file, TNS names.ora file, SQLnet.ora file, and then what are the content inside that, what is my static listener, what is my dynamic listener, how I can register my database with my listener, how you can connect your database using SQL developer and your Toad, and then how I can connect to my database using SQL plus using a service name, and then how my service names are correlated with my listeners and TNS, and then how I can define my service name inside my database, and then how I can create my local listener, how I can create my scan listeners, and then how I can create my remote listeners, and then what's the difference between my local listener, remote listener, scan listener, my grid listener, and so many listeners will comes into picture. What are the differences, what are the correlations, and how they all communicate each other, how that scan will load balance in case of rack. All those concepts will be like purely understood with respect to the real-time scenarios, and then what are the issues, what are the basic understanding needed as a DBA when you are working with any of the clients. So all this the real-time practical exercise will be done when we talk about this networking or Oracle networking, that will purely on your Linux, purely on your listener and TNS, and then SQL Net.ora. Then why we need SQL Net.ora file, and then what are the parameters we can pass over there, why when you use your wallet and when you use your uh, uh, wallet and encryption, and then what's the use of your SQL Net.ora file. So many concepts we're going to play around and discuss around this networking here. And then followed by a very interesting topic, that's chapter number 12, the user account management. In that user account management, where we are going to purely deal with user access and grants, and then profiles and passwords, and so many concepts related to my user account. Because day in and day out, when you're working as a DBA, so you used to get many requests from your developers, your testers, or your end users or business users. My account is locked, I'm unable to access my database, and I don't have access on this particular object. So these are like common queries we used to get it. Like once you get all this request, and then how you're going to validate them, and then how you're going to create that users, how you're going to validate whether that user has a right access or right permissions on the object, and then whether that password is expired, and if the password is expired or the account is expired, how you're going to unlock that account, how you're going to reset the password, and then how you're going to check the roles and privileges assigned to that particular user, and then how I can compare between two users roles and responsibilities, whether those two users having similar privileges or permissions. All those comparison, everything we're going to play around that user management. And then along with the profiles, what are the profiles, how you can control that user access or user limiting the user access on the resources by putting the profiles, and then assigning some quotas, and what are the quotas, how I can define the quota for a user. Everything we can see it on the user account management. And then followed by chapter number 13 is purely one of the strategic as a DBA, one of the strategy to maintain your long business run is to manage your proper backups and recovery solutions. So setting up your proper backup and recovery is one of the key elements as a DBA to success in your career role. So you have to design such a way that at any point of time, any disaster happens, you should be able to restore and recover your database. How soon you can able to restore and recover your database using based upon RTO and then RPO whatever you have designed at your business level. So you should be able to restore and recover your database in any disaster scenario. So for that, your backups and recoveries are very, very important. So we'll start with the basic understanding of backups and recovery strategy and various types of backups, where what are the understanding of RMAN versus conventional backups, and what are the differences between RMAN and your hot backup and cold backup and export and import. Everything we'll see it in details. What are the differences, and then followed by we'll follow that RMAN and conventional backups. What's the difference between your RMAN and then hot backup and cold backup and logical backups, or the user management backups. Then we'll see all of the differences, and then we'll jump into pure RMAN concept. We'll take a full database backup, archive backup, level 1 backup, level 0 backup, cumulative backup, differential backup, and then what are the different resources involved in your RMAN backup, what are your RMAN channels, what are your RMAN policies, and then what are your recovery catalog database, what is your how you can read your backup information, where you're going to store your backup information, how you can assign the channels to your backups, and then how you can improve your backup performance. All scenarios we're going to see it when you talk about your RMAN backups. And then finally, we'll start with our RMAN restore and recoveries, and then RMAN clone technologies, active database duplicate, duplicate database based upon the backups, and then RMAN restore and recovery. What's the difference between restore and recovery versus RMAN cloning? And then, how you can improve your RMAN restore and recovery performance, how you can improve your RMAN cloning performance, and then what are your RMAN channels, what are your auxiliary channels, and then how I can speed up my restore scenarios, and then how I can restore my data file, how I can restore my table space, how I can restore my entire database. Uh, all those scenarios we'll talk about this when we deal with our RMAN restores and recoveries. And then followed by your chapter number 16 will be like applying the patches on your Oracle database. One of the very, very critical and crucial part of your database maintenance, that's patching activities. Oracle is strongly recommend you to apply the patch on quarterly basis. Oracle will release patches on every quarterly basis: Jan, April, July, and then October. These are the 4 quarters Oracle regularly releases the patches, and Oracle strongly recommend to apply all these patches regularly on your environment. So you have to apply the patches on your grid home, you have to apply the patches on your Oracle home. Once you apply the patches on grid and Oracle home, you have to run the data patch on your database level. So all this patching on your grid home and database level will use the OPatch tool. And then we have a manual method of patching, and we have an automated method of patching, OPatch auto, and then OPatch apply. So we can use both. What's the difference between, what are the advantages or disadvantages, what are the pros and cons? We'll understand that, and then we'll apply the patch on grid home, and we'll apply the patch on Oracle home. Once we apply patches on binary level, and then we use something called the data patch tool to apply the changes at your database level. So all this we'll see it at based upon the real-time scenarios, and then how you can improve your patching process, and then how you can minimize the downtime during the patching, and then what are the pre-checks, what are the post-checks, how you can verify your patch is applied successfully or not. All those things we're going to see it as part of this patching exercise. And then followed by chapter number 17, that's purely a database upgrade concept. And then we're going to see how you're going to upgrade your 11G database to 12C, how you can apply 11G database to 19C, how you can upgrade your 12C 12C database to 19C database. Different concept, like we'll see 4-5 database upgrade methods here: a manual method of upgrade, DB upgrade .sql script, and then Perl script to upgrade your database, and then manually connect your SQL Plus in upgrade mode and run that cat upgrade .sql script. And then you can use something called DBUA, that is GUI based upgrade tool. And then there's a 19C new feature called auto upgrade tool. We use that auto upgrade tool to do a my 19C database upgrade. So all these different methods of database upgrade, we'll see that, along with what are the prerequisite checks, what are the post checks, and then how you can minimize your upgrade time, and then what are the success criteria, what you need to make sure that before upgrade and after upgrade. All those scenarios will be discussed and then shown it on our lab exercise as a real-time live examples. And then followed by your chapter number 18, very interesting, again one of the disaster scenarios for your long maintaining your long business run. So to properly set your DR architecture, DR database, standby database. So we'll start with our data guard architecture understanding, or the standby database understanding, and then complete understanding of your data guard architecture. and then followed by what are the different types of standby database, what are the different modes of databases, and then what are the different uh, processes involved in my data guard architecture, and then why we need physical standby, why we need logical standby, why we need a snapshot standby database. All those types of standby database will cover it, and then what are the parameters involved in order to make all of these standby databases, and then how you can convert your physical standby to logical standby to snapshot standby, and then so many other things we're gonna discuss, and then we can deep dive converting your switch over and the failover, switch back, all this activity, how you can convert your primary as a standby as a primary. That's your DR drill activity. Every industry used to do the DR drill activity once in a year or twice in a year, converting primary as a standby as a primary. All those activities will be played around your data guard architecture, and then followed by chapter number 19, that's the shell script. Because as a DBA, whenever we work, whenever we log in into our shift, various shift work, whenever we log in into our shift, we should make sure that our database is available 24/7. And in our database status, we used to do we used to check our database health check, we used to do our listener health check, we used to do our like all the services health check. So we used to do like what's my database growth and what are my user privileges. All these checks, whenever we log into our day activity, we used to do a lot of checks in order to make sure that my database is accessible to the end users and my database is up and running, and then no issue at my database side. So we used to run like multiples of commands, we used to do multiples of checks at my database level, listener level, OS level, and then make sure that my database is healthy and up and running, and then business users or end users can continue to access my database and there won't be any issue. So to do all of these activity manually, if you try to do it, there are a lot of time and energy and resource are needed. So to avoid that, cell scripting is one of the basic necessary task for your DBAs. And then we used to understand how the cell scripting work, basic cell scripting, and then write some sample cell scripting, and then do a lot of these daily task as an automation task. You can monitoring task, you can monitor your database, you can monitor your database growth, you can monitor your listener, you can monitor your RMN backups, you can monitor your user access, you can monitor your database privileges. All those you can write a small shell script and combine together and schedule it as a cron job, and then you can monitor your database activities. So you no need to every time log into your DB or log into your particular shift. Once you start your day, you no need to do any of the manual checks. Everything will be like automated with the help of shell scripting, and then we will just read the report whatever generated, and then we can continue with our other activities. So shell scripting is one of the mandatory or very basic necessary skill for a DBS in order to automate a lot of activities, to avoid the time unnecessary like time wastage in monitoring these activities, right? So just shell scripting will try to understand from the scratch how you can write a sample shell script, what are the basic necessary things needed for shell scripting. So everything will start it here in the chapter number 19. And in chapter number 20, we'll start with the export and import, because uh, in industry, we often used to get uh, request from logical object exports from one database to other database. For example, your table schema, table space, and database, and your data files. We used to get often this request. I want this particular table from develop production database to development database. So only way to export your tables and import it to your development or lower environment is your export and import. We'll try to understand what are the export and import prerequisites and post requisites, and then how you can improve your export and import scenarios, and then how in case of your export jobs are stuck or hung, how you can resume that, how you can pause and resume your exports and imports, and then how you can take your table schema and table space backups, and then how you can import it into your development or test environment. All those activities around your exports and imports, will see it on that, along with your external tables and along with your SQL loader, and then how you can load your external files like CSV files, XML file, text files from your external application to inside your database. All those activities will play around in this chapter number 20. And then again, chapter number 21 purely talks about your 12C and 19C new feature. What are the new enhancement, new features Oracle has introduced with your 12C and 19C database? We'll talk about all those new features. and then we'll move into our chapter number 22, that is purely start with our performance tuning. So how you can generate your AWR report, ADDM report, ASH report, how you can read your AWR, ADDM, ASH report, and then how you can monitor your database server health check by doing your top command iostat, vmstat, and then your SAR report. And then once you do your OS analysis, how you can generate all this performance tuning reports, like AWR, ADDM, ASH, and then how you can read those reports, and then how you can troubleshoot that query performance issues, and then what are the recommendations we'll get it from these reports. You may get a report like rebuild your gather stats on the table level, on the schema level, and then how you can gather the stats at your table level and schema level, and then how you can do a table move, table string activities on a table level, how you can rebuild your indexes, how you can uh, you know uh, disable and enable the indexes on a table, how you can create a new indexes on a table, and then how you can check the AWR report, how you can check the execution plan for a particular given query or SQL ID. And then all those scenarios, like all those performance tuning factors will be like discussed on your 22, followed by your chapter number 23. That's all like real-time best exercise and then practical scenarios for your performance tuning. My query is running slow, what we can do. My database is running slow, what we can do. My database is not having enough resource, what we can do. Our users are complaining, queries are running very slow, what we can do. My users are complaining, the queries are taking more time, what we can do. And then users are complaining, frequent they're getting a timed out, and then they're unable to connect to my database, what we can do. All those performance related performance issues will be like troubleshooted based upon the real-time scenarios, and then the best examples along with them, with a practical live demonstration here. And then starting with like chapter number 24, it's like proactive maintenance and alert mechanism, and then how you can regularly monitor your database alert logs and then alerts. And then once you get a particular alert, and then how you can work with Oracle support, raise a case with Oracle support, and then how you can upload those bundles and then log files, trace files, and then where you can see various trace files, alert log files, and then various the logs related to your database. And then your ADDM, your ADRCI is one of the utility. You can collect your database alert log and the trace files and the diag files, and then you can upload it to Oracle case. All will be like your proactive monitoring and then reactive monitoring with working with Oracle support. We'll quickly go on a demo and then how you can raise a case with Oracle and all those things here. And then followed by again performance tuning based upon your AWR report, ADDM report, ASH report. What are the recommendations for your performance tuning factors, like rebuilding indexes, gather stats on your table level, schema level, and generating AWR report, ADDM report, ASH report, and then some of the miscellaneous chapters like rebuilding your indexes, disabling the indexes, ineligible the indexes, and then reading your execution plans, and then making sure that checking whether any execution plan change, whether the stats are getting changed on your table level, and then SQL pegging and SQL profiling. All those will be checked on at part of performance tuning. And then at the chapter number 26, finally we come to end of that DBA course, where we will start preparing uh, each and individual's resume and cover letter. I'm going to share my resume and cover letter and explain how the sample resume and cover letter looks, and then you have to follow some of the key elements while writing your resume and cover letter. And then that will be like some of the key points where you have to include in your resume and cover letter, so that your resume and your application, whenever you apply for a new job position, your application will get shortlisted. So that's one of the key points. You have to write your resume and cover letter such a way that whenever like whoever reads your resume and cover letter, it should be having some of those key elements where that HR or the recruiters, or whenever they look at your resume and cover letter, that should be like eye catchy, and then that should be like shortlisted in first impression. So those are like some of the key elements you have to include in your resume and cover letter. Though everything will be like discussed in this chapter number 26, and then followed by your chapter number 28. We'll be like sharing some of the samples, frequently asked interview questions and answers, and then you can go ahead and then access those, and then can practice it, and then you can appear for the interview. And again, we'll be conducting the mock interview in the chapter number 28. So you have to register, and then we'll be like conducting one-on-one mock interview for each and everyone, so that you will be like familiar with how the real-time interviews are, all those things will work. So these are like entire course content which is formed based upon the real-time exercise, and then real-time whatever needed for as a DBA for day in and day out activities, right? So having said that, what is special about this Oracle 19C course, what I'm offering, right? This course will be like, mainly it's a weekday batch. Every day it's like 2-hour classes, 9 a.m. IST to if you see like this weekday classes, weekday batch will be like daily 2 hours, which will start from 9 a.m. IST to 11 a.m. IST. 2-hour classes every day, Monday to Friday. It's a weekday batch, and then course duration will be like approximately like 30 to 45 days, approximately like 70 to 90 hours. And then you can see that course content, whatever I'm showing here under this training and database tab. And then some of the other key points of your this particular course are like, this is based upon Oracle. I used to call this as Oracle admin workshop rather than Oracle 19C course. I can used to call it as Oracle admin workshop, because each and every topic whatever we discussed will be like purely discussed based upon the real time examples, real time scenarios, and then everything will be like showed on our live lab demonstration. And then daily sessions will be recorded and then uploaded to our Google Drive. And then each of these sections will be having its own lab quiz workbook, and then all the tools and softwares, everything will be given in advance. And then each of this topic having a quiz and multiple choice answers, you can practice them. And then daily practical task will be given, and then it will be reviewed in the next class. And then that will be like, make sure that all are like actively participating with our daily classes. And then everyone are requested to ask questions and clarify their doubts. And then we have a dedicated WhatsApp group for each batch, and any questions and any concerns or any query you have it regarding the each and every topics and course, you have to post it on our group, and then we'll be answering in our group, so that everyone will be like educated with that particular query, whatever you have it. This score will be like based upon the real time live or demonstration on our lab. And then all each and every topic will be based upon the real time scenarios. And then at the end, resume and cover letter will be like uh, explained, and then given the sample resume and cover letter. And then some of the tips will be given how you can write your resume and cover letter, followed by your sample interview questions and answers, and then mock interviews. So these are like key elements for this particular course. And then the finally the course fees is going to be like 10K INR, Indian rupees. And then uh, just I want to quickly show whatever this keynotes, whatever I just explained. Everyday session will be like recorded here. If you see here, the database course, the daily classes, if you go here, daily classes, and then if you click on this daily recordings, you will see like daily recording start with the day 1, 2, 3, 4, like you have daily recordings. And then on the same day, whenever that whatever the command we're going to explain uh, on the command line, all those will be like captured and then uploaded here, so that you can just practice when you're practicing on your own lab. So you're just going to run the same command whatever we are going to run it. So you're just going to copying the command and then pasting it in your lab, so that you also will do the same practical exercise along with what we do in our lab. So daily sessions and daily session logs, everything will be captured and then uploaded on the same day, so that you can refer them anytime you need it. And then all the course materials will be given in advance, all the lab exercise will be given in advance, all the special document related to some particular topic like TR and export and import, other tools, whatever the tools are needed for this particular course. And then what are the patching documents, what are the performance tuning documents, what are the RMN documents, and what are the cell scripting automations, uh, SQLs, and then some of the other topics will be covered along with this particular database course. And then uh, there are some uh, uh, plenty of Oracle ebooks will be uploaded here. You can just go through watch all those ebooks and then practice by yourself. And some of the samples interview questions and answers are all uploaded here. You can just practice by your own. And there are like thousands of monitoring script I have written and then uploaded into our Google Drive. So you can just use them in your lab and then make sure that if that script is working, and then you can use it for your day-to-day activities in your any of the client and the production environment. Just test this all script before you use it in any of the production environment. There are thousands of scripts which are uploaded by me here, which are used by day in and day out in my environment and my sessions. So you can use this script, and then you can make use of your your whatever the day-to-day work what you do, you can just make use of this script. For example, arm restore monitoring script. So this particular script will talks about whenever you start your restore activities, and then this particular script will give you how much percentage completed, what is pending, and then all of them. Like, these are like ready script. You can use it in your day in and day out activities. And then there are like ready VMs. You can see like there are some ready VMs, some ready rack VMs, and some machines are like ready VMs with your standalone, and ready VMs with your ASM, ready VM with database. You can just download them and you can use them. These are like, other key elements which will be like coming with that as part of this course. Right. So this is all about what we offering as part of this database course. The same thing, this particular WordPad I just mentioned here. Uh, Whenever you want to register for this course, you just feel free to ping me on my email or my WhatsApp. I can provide you the demo links, and I can provide you some demo sessions. Already few of the demo sessions are available. You can always go through them and then access those demo sessions. And then if you need a course content, you can go to that, whatever I explained here, Malik034blogspot.com, and go to trainings and database, and then you will see enter the course content. And then some of the ready demo sessions, demo videos are already available. You can watch them. So those are like freely available. You can watch them. Or if you want to attend a new demo classes, you can feel free to ping me on my WhatsApp or email ID, or drop me an email with my email ID, or I can reach out to you for a demo classes. And again, course fees and duration. Course fees is 10K. Timings are 9 AM IST to 11 AM IST, approximately like 30 to 45 days. That will be like 70 to 90 hours. And then if you want to register and you have any queries or concerns, you can always go to our blog, Malik034.com, and then you can see the new announcement here, Oracle DBA training. You can click on this link here. You're going to see what are the ongoing batches. These are like ongoing batches right now. And then what is the database course, upcoming database course, then upcoming rack course. You're going to see it upcoming rack course, and you can click on this register button, and then you can register for database course or rack course. Whatever I'm explaining is based upon database course. Just go ahead and register database course, or you can ping me on my WhatsApp or my email ID. I'm going to reach out to you, and then I'm going to give more details about this. Right. So that's about just now whatever I showed in our Google Drive. So there are like prerequisites videos. If you see here, like ready prerequisites videos, the moment you register for this course, this prerequisites videos like day 1 to 9, I will be like readily given to you, so that you can read through all these videos, and then you can get familiar with the database understanding prerequisites. And then once you start the actual course, so you'll be like in a situation that you will be ready to ask many questions and answers. Once we start your database course before meeting the prerequisites, so then you may like lose the content. You may like lag during the you may like uh, lag behind others, or lag behind, and then you will be having a challenge in understanding the course content. So these are like prerequisites videos. So you have to go through these videos, and then get familiar with the database concept, terminologies, and understanding, so that once we start your actual classes, that will like everyday sessions. And then these are like actual classes. Once you start your actual classes, then you'll be like familiar, and then familiar with the database, and you'll be ready to ask many questions during the classes. And then all these classes are like live interaction, and then everyone are allowed to stop in the middle of the course, then ask any questions and get clarified, and then everything will be like moved together. Right, so that's all this course materials and other resources. Some of the prerequisite videos you will be getting it once you get registered with this course. And then you will be like getting all the ISO images, all the Oracle softwares, and then all the ready VMs, and then all the other study materials, all the ebooks, Oracle notes, and then some of the interview questions and answers, some of the monitoring tools, and then daily recordings, which will be like recorded on that particular batch name. Right, so this is all about this database 19C course. If you have like any questions or queries about registration, feel free to ping me on my WhatsApp, and then I can take it one-to-one. Only like final questions you might be having: how I can register, and then how I can get a confirmation for my registration. So you have to make a payment, and then you have to send me the screenshot along with your email ID. So then I can register your email ID. Or else you can simply go to our blog and then go to your course registration here, and then go ahead and then upcoming batch February 17th, which will be starting the new batch. Just go ahead and register your upcoming batch here. Click on this register button, which will take you to the registration page. Register over there and then ping me on my WhatsApp number, and then I can get in touch with you for further communication. Right, so that's all about the course content. Pretty much course will be like designed as per the industry standards, our best practices. Who are like attending for this database course, all the best, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.